Okay, today we are going to talk about the styles of classical music. We're going to be talking about the first half. So the top of your page should say styles of classical music, and then the very first line should say medieval music. We're going to talk about the first three in this video. The next video will have the last three styles of classical music. So the first style of classical music started, basically, it's dated all the way back to about 400 AD. So we just say that medieval music basically started at 0 and goes all the way to 1200 AD. Medieval music was not written down, for the most part. Most of the music was not written. It was sung from person to person. Like when we sing a song to the next person, like a nursery rhyme. We pass those nursery rhymes down from one person to another, from a parent to a child, from an older child to a younger sibling kind of thing. So it's been passed down. So these songs that they sang were passed down from person to person. All of the music that was done in medieval times was in the church. They only sang music in the church. Also, there were no instruments in the beginning of medieval music. It was only done by voices. So most of the music was not written. It was only sung in the church by voices. There were no instruments at the beginning. If we were to draw this in a picture, let's say I'm going to draw a rose. I'm going to show you how to draw a rose. I would like for you to draw that in the little box that's right next to where you wrote the description of medieval music. So we're going to take a nice fancy U. We're going to draw a line from the bottom of the U down to the bottom of the box. And then if you want to picture this like a clock, we're going to start up at the top left. We're going to go all the way down to about 5 o'clock, to where the 5 would be on a clock. And then we're going to start on the right side, and we're going to go down to about where the 7 might be on the clock. But we're not going to go all the way down. That line is going to stop us. We're going to start back up at the right again, and we're only going to go down about halfway down that other line. And we're going to start at the right this time, and we're going to go halfway down that other line. We might put a leaf, so a half circle up, half circle down, half circle up, half circle down, and that would be our medieval music. It's very simple, one voice, okay? Not any instruments, not anything other than just a rose. Well, around 1200 AD, the composers, people who started writing music, started saying, you know what, this is kind of boring. This is not what we want. We want to be able to sing music outside of the church. So around 1200 to around 1600, they started singing and playing instruments, by the way. Playing instruments and singing outside of the church. People started liking the songs so well that they started singing them outside of the church. And they started going around and saying, well, have you heard this song? Let me sing it to you. Have you heard this song? Let me sing it to you. And then they started adding instruments to those songs and enjoying the music much more. Well, it was also interesting because they would take these songs and they would sing them from place to place. So they might go to one castle and sing in that area. And they would say, okay, you know what? I really like that song. So then another person would go to another castle and they would say, have you heard this song? And they would sing it. So they were passing the songs around, okay? So if we were to show Renaissance music as a rose, this might be what it looks like, because they started playing the instruments and they started singing. They started giving more details to the music. There was much more going on. So we're going to draw our rose again. Fancy U. Line at the bottom. Start at the top left, go down to about the 5 on a clock. Start at the top right, go down to about a 7. Start at the left again, go about halfway down that line, and start at the right again and go about halfway down that line. We're going to draw a leaf over on this side and a leaf over on that side. Well, remember I said they started adding things. So how about if we add sunshine? Because they started adding voices and they started adding instruments. How about if we add a cloud to our rose? Maybe a couple of birds. These are my birds. What do you notice about the picture? The picture has more details. It has more things in it, more things around the rose. So it shows us, you know, I might even put some grass in here. I think I'm gonna put some grass. Just gonna put a bunch of little lines at the bottom that kind of shows the grass. Okay. So there were lots of things going on around the music. Instruments, other voices, things like that. But in the 1600s, in people that started writing the music, by the way, they started writing the music. People that started writing the music said, you know what, this is getting a little too busy. Let's back up and let's focus on the rose. So around 1600 to about 1750, in Baroque music, they focused on the melody. Focused more on the melody. It's actually very similar to music that we listen to today. If you were to take a song that you normally might listen to, you would probably be able to pick out the melody very easily, because our songs are focused on the melody. We really hear that melody come out. Now, we do still have the other part, but it's interesting because in Baroque music, they used a little bit more intricate sounds. Intricate means details on the melody. If you ever listen to artists like Ariana Grande or Christina Aguilera or Britney Spears, they add things to their melody that make it a little bit more focused. They kind of jazz it up and they add more notes into it when they're singing it. So the rose itself, if we were to picture this, the rose itself becomes more detailed. So there's not as much stuff around the rose, but the rose itself has more focus into it. So let's draw our rose. We draw our U like we did. We draw a line at the bottom, start at the top left and go down to about 5 o'clock to the 5. Start at the right, go down to about 7. Start at the left, go about halfway down. Start at the right, go about halfway down. We're going to draw our leaves. Okay, but this time we're going to make the rows a little bit more important. We might color and make the top of the rose a little darker because, you know, if you look at a rose petals, you'll notice the rose petals, you can see how the petals get almost like these little veins, these little soft lines in them. So we're going to show those soft lines at the top. We're also going to put, if you ever look at a rose, you'll notice that it comes out of some leaves at the very bottom. So we're going to put those little leaves on the bottom. Our leaves at the on the stem have these little vein-like things in them. Okay. And of course, the rose itself has what? Thorns. So of course we want to be careful when we touch that rose. Now, there is still other things around it. We still have the sun, but it's not nearly as important. And we might have a single cloud, maybe a bird. But the more of the focus is on the rose. Okay, if you'll turn to the next page, we're going to talk about the backside, the next 3 styles of classical music.